This episode is brought to you by MPB. Get cash for the kit you're not using or trade it in for the gear you want at mpb.com. Hey folks, in this interview, I sit down with the amazing Diana Sinclair. She's a 17-year-old artist and photographer and also an NFT expert. This is Twitter. Welcome back to another episode of This Week in Photo. I'm your host, Frederick Van Johnson. Today, I'm graced by the presence of the amazing Diana Sinclair. She is somebody who, during our pre-interview, I learned a ton about, in the stuff that she's involved with regard to NFT and art. First of all, like I said in that intro there, she's a creator, she's an artist, and she's plugged in like no one I've met before to the NFT space. We're going to scratch the surface of that in this interview. There may be more interviews after this. We're going to scratch the surface of it. So, Diana, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Thank you. I'm okay. I'm pretty tired, but this past weekend... Listen, I mean, it wasn't rough. It was a great weekend, but it just kind of like woke me up further from my already very deep state in this, whole business to just how serious and deep this community runs and how deep this technology goes. Yeah. So I feel like, I don't know, I was taken to another level.
I want to talk about that.
What this... Oh, there's just a lot, but
well, let's start with an introduction to you and who you are as an artist and kind of your origin story. You're 17, you're relatively new to this stuff, but in the NFT world, you're a veteran already. So let's talk about your beginnings and the kind of art that you do and what interests you on that side, and then we'll transition into the NFT stuff.
Well, I've been an artist all my life. My dad minored in art, and he raised me to be drawing. It was, always the sort of thing when I was really young that, okay, you're going to draw a picture, and then by the time I get home from work, you'll show it to me and we'll talk about it. So that's how he got me started. And then, as I grew older, we would do more together. My dad would sketch and draw with me. So we would go to art galleries, and it was just something that I would do with him. So I started there, and I got really into traditional artwork, and it was kind of a way that I would channel things I was going through when I was younger. Mm-hmm. And that turned, I was doing like art shows, and it was really fun. Entered art competitions for kids my age. And then I got frustrated with that, and I turned to what I thought I wanted to do was animation, but I realized that was too tedious. So I got into film, experimental film, and I did love that. I got a scholarship to go to SVA for the summer. After applying with my traditional art, I kind of like got my way in that way. And then I, threw myself into the experimental video section. Yeah. And I love that. From there, I would take screenshots of the film that I made, and I would send it to like big art competitions, and I'd actually end up like doing very well in them and like winning some prizes and things. So it's like, wait a second, maybe there's something to this photography thing. If I can screenshot a film, what happens if I actually try and go take photos? So I took the summer of 2020, which was really tough because it was obviously during the pandemic, and the only person that I was really seeing was my partner. But I would like do kind of like socially distanced photo shoots with models, trying to keep it very sparse and like safe. And I built up my photography portfolio. That was like one of the first times I really picked up a camera. And my goal was to like win the finalist award at the YoungArts Foundation, the national competition that they do every year. And I submitted my portfolio to that. And I won. Usually they fly you out to Miami, but we had a week on Zoom, which the first day they had like the opening ceremony. And I bawled my eyes out. This is in January, but I was just like, oh my god, it was awful. Yeah, it sucks. I want to be in Miami, but it was really cool. I think that it showed me that I could put my mind to something very quickly and get it done. And it was something, I had a lot of fun there. But they also during that week kind of really hammered it into you that there was a specific way to become a successful artist. You go to college. They actually had like college talks, which was, it was helpful at the time. But they, would sit you down and be like, okay, what college do you want to go to? We had to talk about how to make a photo book and how to talk to galleries. And it was very narrow, but I mean, they're from the traditional fine art world, so it makes sense, obviously, that was their experience, and that's what they are going to relate to the next photographers of this generation. So it was great. After that, I kind of felt like I had a lot of direction and none. Like I knew specifically what I was supposed to do, which was build a very big body of work. But at the same time, I wasn't fully in that mindset. Like it didn't, I don't know, maybe what I was waiting for was to get into this community. But I was kind of like in a weird limbo state where I just didn't, like I was wanting to work. It was also I deal with seasonal depression as well. So it was like cold in February and I don't know, it was just like a weird time until my partner. It was like I wanted to pick up the camera and shoot, but at that time it didn't feel right. Like it felt like everything that I was doing wasn't good enough, like, okay, I was also told that I needed to shoot with black and white, that if I hadn't done that yet, then I haven't really legitimized myself as a photographer. So I was like,
what?
Yeah, I know. It was, I was told that by a very, very big, great photographer who like stepped in for like an hour, and it kind of broke my heart for the day. But at the same time, like then afterwards, I kept like telling myself I need to shoot with black and white. And then I never did it, but I kept like beating that into me. But then my partner, Jesse, got into 3D artwork, like right before getting into the NFT space. And they were following like every 3D artist that they could, imagine on Twitter. And in that community, they were talking about NFTs. So that was kind of my introduction. And they would just talk to me about it all day, which that's all we talk about.
Yeah.
A few days ago, I was like, can we not talk about NFTs today? And then that lost all of the 30 minutes.
Well, that's really cool because that's obviously what I want to, one of the things I want to talk about in this. In the like we were talking about before we started recording, the world of NFT is like molten lava right now. It's like the earth when it was still cooling. And when I spoke with you earlier, a couple days ago, I got the feeling that you are like plugged into it. You're in New York, in that area, and it's all that electricity and the sort of progressiveness of and embracing of new technologies and these kinds of things, and you are doing it. And it was really interesting to talk to you because, because you were turning me on to these different websites that I had no idea about, where all these different things are going on. I'm like, man, like there's this big NFT party happening over there, and all I know, I can only hear the music a little bit, the bass line in my place, and over there it's like raving and all this stuff is going on. Give us from that too. Yeah, from your perspective, like where. And speak to the people out there that are like, NFTs, that's crypto, that's a fad, and it's this and it's that, and it's harming the environment, all those kind of things. Where do you fall on that? Like from the 17-year-old burgeoning creator that is leaning into the NFT space, and your partner is also leaning into the NFT space.
Oh, where do you see into it?
Yeah, where do you see it going, and where is it right now?
Actually, to speak about my partner, they said something very interesting while we were in New York City, but it was like I was about to speak at my first panel, and they had like delivered the questions beforehand, and I asked their opinion on it like before the panel actually happened. They said something very interesting, which I think is like one of maybe the most true things I've heard. But like what needs to be understood is that like NFTs isn't like artwork. It's just like, it's technology, and it's so much more than
it's an envelope,
the art.
Right? It's an envelope for the art.
In many ways, like you could, I think that's a great way of putting it as well. Like you can put artwork, you could put files. It can track information. Like it's not necessarily if I put up a JPEG as an NFT, he can make a JPEG an NFT.
Hmm.
But they said that like in the future, they imagine that the general public will be using NFTs without necessarily knowing that they're NFTs, which I think
Hmm.
is very true. That like if I um, go on a site, for instance, maybe not necessarily to my knowledge, but there will be like a wallet address assigned to my account. Like if I sign into like Sephora or something, and if I
Hmm.
purchase something off of that site, then I imagine that that could be also like an NFT, right? Which then could be used to like track inventory or things like that, and really um, streamline that process. So I think that or my dad even mentioned before that there could be a way to like track companies in that way and see
Yeah.
what they're doing on the blockchain. So I think that it's great that artists are like really taking a hold of it now and then claiming it, which I think is great because artists are always like pushing forward culture and
Yep.
are determiners of that. So I think that it makes a lot of sense that artists were very deeply tied into it, even from the beginning, because this didn't start this year, even like the past year started several years ago. And depending on like what your definition is, like the more loose it is, the further back you can go, and when the first NFT was,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you, so don't ask me, but
I
there are many
wonder though.
projects.
I wonder where it's going. Like from a consumer perspective, I wonder, like, are we at this wild west kind of age when, like, I'm in California, right? I'm in the Northern California area, and Sacramento's right up the street. And the reason why Sacramento's there is because of the gold rush for the most part.
Hmm.
And you're right. And the people, as the lore goes, the people that made the money on the gold rush were the people that were selling jeans and axes and tents and, things to make fire. Do you think that same kind of thing is going to happen in this NFT gold rush where, yeah, people see the Mark Cubans and Jack Dorseys of the world making millions of dollars or $100,000 in a week, selling a couple of bits of information. That's the dream. Is the reality that these directories and the gas costs and all that stuff that's where the real money is, or is it over there? I don't know. Where do you think? What's your perspective on that?
I think it's really spread out right now. Like I said, there are tons of different marketplaces. There are tons of different artists that are doing like varying things. Like the marketplaces have different percentages that they take. Obviously, miners are definitely making bank,
Yeah, right.
but
Yeah,
obviously, but that that's a funny to relate it to the analogy you just
it's the
gave.
same thing, right? Miners and miners.
Yeah, miners and miners, but I think that there's a lot. I mean, but it's also like the investors. The investors are killing it too. If
Hmm.
you get ahead of the curve and you are lucky, because I think a lot of it is luck, and I think that's what people have to realize. Like a lot of these people turn like asking for investing advice, but so much of this is so much having your head to the ground and then being lucky with a really big investment, and then hopefully
Hmm.
growing from that.
Yeah.
There's money in every aspect of this world, which is why I do think that there's like kind of room for everybody. Like you could join as an artist, you could join as a curator, you could join as a developer, an investor, or a community builder, or a comms person, because these marketplaces really need to focus on their communication. You
Hmm.
could join as a miner potentially, although that like is kind of like a weird, vague role in this community.
Yeah.
I don't think I know any minors, although I may, that just don't talk about it. You could be a curator. There are lots of different like roles to play right now. And I kind of like see it weirdly as like a new civilization growing, how there needs to
Hmm.
be cooks and doctors, and there needs to be the farmers and the people
Right.
that are the caregivers. Like there's a lot of different like ways to be a part of this community right now, which I think is really, really cool. And I think that the artists that are the most successful right now are the ones who examine all of their ins in the community. Like they're not just an artist, but they also community build, and they're also talking to developers, and they're also friends with marketplaces, and really able to um, use their perspective as a visual person, as someone who participates on the outer side, to really um, be a part of the growth of the community, not just like ride the waves of it, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, and there's the other piece of it, and that's audience, right? So, like I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned before, there's the Jack Dorseys of the world, there's whoever, you know, that created these crazy, expensive, and successful NFTs, but they have gigantic audiences. You know, in some cases, millions of people
Mm-hmm.
that are hanging on their every word, and so they can essentially mint money if they want to. So they could say, hey, I'm dropping, this is the first email that I ever sent. And this email, I'm going to make into an NFT and sell it for $100,000. And they'll probably get it or, you know,
Depends.
depends, right? So I guess the
I've seen
question is,
that logic. I've
do,
seen that logic though, and then like there have been people who have done drops like celebrities,
yeah.
and it's gone awfully. Like it's like, oh man,
Ah,
and like like this community I think is like very tight, and it's also like they do or we do try to suss out people that are there for cash grabs. So like there were like a few months ago there were a lot of celebrity drops that just came like with no like the confidence that they were just going to come in, drop something, and make like tons of money was just it was funny. Like there was I was speaking about this weekend. I think Eminem dropped an NFT.
oh, really?
Yeah,
What was
exactly.
it?
Oh,
What was his
really?
NFT? Like,
I think it was a 3D model of him inside of like I don't even know what you call it, but like those toy cars, you know how they have the plastic on the side and then they have
uh-huh.
like the words on the paper? Yeah, like, it was something like that, but it was like him as like a figurine inside of like this
Uh,
thing. Yeah, it didn't really do well whenever I talk about it. People are like, wait, Eminem didn't drop an NFT? I'm like, yeah, exactly,
yeah, I
If
had
you
no
don't know
idea.
about it and you're like some of the biggest people in the community that I'm chatting with, and I'm like, yeah, but that Eminem NFT drop though, and they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's why it didn't do well.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, see, that's a good example, right? Because so then what makes a successful NFT? If you could have celebrity and still fail, is there any hope for us? You know, so for people that don't have an
No, no,
Eminem
it's like
following?
it's because the audiences are different, and it's very easy to like join the community as long as you have good intentions.
Yeah.
I don't I don't think it's the sort of thing where I've actually had people come up and ask me, well, if I just drop an NFT, will I be able to make like 10K in a day? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Like, if you walked into a room of people that you don't know and you're like, hey, I'm selling this for like, 10K, this print of mine, people are gonna be like, get out of here, we don't know who you are.
Exactly.
Um, but if you are walking into a room of people that you do know who have the money to pay for that, and they're people that you've had conversations with, and I think that there's also a lot to gain besides just the money, which is what like a lot of people need to realize as well. Like joining this community does mean that there's like this access to this worldwide like group of people that are tapped into one thing, and that's pretty powerful. Seeing that like there's usually and obviously this is like being very broad and vague, but like if you can get a group behind like one goal, then that's very powerful. And I don't know if like everybody's behind one goal for this community, but everybody is like tapped into this like there's always a conversation starter, right? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have met artists that are from all the three countries that I'm from, which is very interesting to me because I haven't been able to travel to those countries yet. So I know artists very well from Panama and from Barbados and Germany, and those are like all over the world. But I now have like a more personal connection besides just my blood that I can like
Mm-hmm.
talk to somebody from there and be like, oh, how's it going in Germany? Like I can't wait to visit, things like that.
Yeah.
And that's also very valuable to me.
Yeah, the community, it's the community
Hmm.
side of it and building all that up, which is, and you've mentioned community a couple of times in this conversation. And when
It's a
I
word.
think, yeah, and when I think of NFT before this conversation, I didn't necessarily think of community. I thought crypto, I thought confusing, I thought, and I didn't really
Yeah,
think
all the other
community.
C words.
The other C words, yeah, and I didn't, even though I have a community and I know the inner workings of how to manage one, I never put the two together in that, okay, there could be a community around NFT. So what's in it for people that are in that community? Is it like you're saying that interpersonal relationships and connecting with people from around the world, or
Absolutely. And it's
learning
also
and,
like,
what is it?
I mean, there's that too, and something that again I was talking about very recently is like that there is like a more even playing field, which is very interesting to me. Like before this, what are the chances that you would have found me? You know, um,
True. Yeah.
you probably have very big people in that specific industry on this thing, and those people get press after a very long time. Like the finding these people, or Alexis even finding me because she connected us,
Mm-hmm.
was because of um, the fact that we had been connected through NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to think that I would have spoken to Alexis before, but what would that reason have been? Like she reached out to me for advice, and I gave her that, and then she was also trying to return the favor and said, oh, I think you'd be really good for this. Do you want me to connect you with this person? So I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I just kind of like say yeah, and I go and smile, and I'm like, okay, and I go. I'm kind of ditzy sometimes, and I was like, oh wow, this is actually really cool. So I think that is really interesting. I've seen a lot of artists that I have admired since I was younger, doing drops and things, and it's actually pretty interesting to see um, how we compare on this playing field.
Mm-hmm.
And because I do well here, that also helps people like key into what I'm doing outside of this. Because I don't want this to be the end all be all for me. Like I think that there are many things that I can do and participate in, but the barrier to entry may have been a lot more difficult for me to get into or to get to, if I hadn't met people on an even playing field before that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
You're in
think
this
that that's
universe
really
now.
cool.
Yeah.
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 Like one of my favorite artists when I was younger, she's huge. She has a whole huge studio. I love her, Laura Zombie. And I saw that she was selling works for the same amount or lower than I was in the NFT space. And that just blew my mind when I saw that, because I was like, wow, when I was 12, I still am like super in love with her work. She's like a Banksy type style. Like I was able to like skip a meet or to like stay out late when I was an athlete to go to one of her pop-up shops in New York City, to then see that now, like a few years later, that we were able to kind of like converse on a level playing field. I think that's really cool. And some huge artists have reached out to me for advice, because it's like, okay, now the knowledge is being like spread out in different ways, and that will change in the future. But it's just interesting that that's how things are now.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, like we were talking about before, you want to be known as a person that's in NFTs and knows your stuff about NFTs, but you don't want to be typecast into being NFT girl, right? Because you are, first and foremost, you're an artist who uses
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that you are schooled in and probably have more knowledge than most in is the NFT space, right? So with that, where where are your NFTs hosted? Or where's the marketplace where you have your NFTs, and why are they there versus a different place?
So right now I'm using Foundation, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
that is just, part of it is me being anal, that like a lot of my work is there, so I feel like I have to keep uploading there, because to like spread myself out is kind of like, it would be annoying to me.
Yeah.
um, so that's just part of like me just being like having a certain aesthetic and things like that. And then otherwise, I really like putting out one of ones, and I think that I haven't really like stepped into editions yet. But Foundation is a one of one marketplace, so I guess to
Okay.
compare it to prints, like if I only put out one print into the world, versus like doing like a print edition of 100 or of 20 or things like that. Um, so I like stuck with Foundation because I kept on wanting to put out one of ones, and they had like a good collector community, and I also really appreciated their user interface. I thought it was um, easy to use, and it wasn't confusing. Like there are other marketplaces that have marketplaces that like their UI isn't as user friendly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I stuck with Foundation. And I also have developed like a really good relationship with their team. I think that they're great. They're like a woman led team, except for the founder, Kayvon. But they have like a really great group of like powerful women on there who have been really supportive to me.
That's good.
But again, like this space is decentralized, and I am platform agnostic. I think that I'm definitely going to want to explore platforms going forward. But right now, it's kind of like every step that you take right now is somewhat of a career step. So I'm trying to make sure that I don't just like jump somewhere and like upload work and do it without necessarily thinking. So if I like do try a new platform, which I'm definitely looking into and probably will do soon, because I think that it's good to like tap into different collector bases, because that's definitely a thing too, where people, there are collectors who only purchase from this one, and there are collectors who only, like getting stuff from here. So it's cool to be able to branch out your audience and like the people that are actually purchasing from you. So I am definitely going to check it out more going forward.
What do you recommend for artists, let's say photographers? My audience is mostly photographers that are looking at getting into the NFT space, and they heard about this. There's a directory and there's foundation, but it's there's a rumor that it's invite only, and do I have to go over there?
It is.
Like, where do they start? If you want to get in, and start experimenting with NFTs, how would you join a foundation or something like that?
Foundation is invitation only, but it's getting to the point where it's like very easy to get an invitation. Like many people have many. And again, like if you do invest in community, I don't think that getting an invitation to foundation is very difficult at this point. Like if you make enough connections and you talk to people enough, then eventually like there's going to be somebody who's like, hey, have you tried it out yet?
Yeah.
That's what happened to me. And that was when getting invitation was harder. I suggest like OpenSea, honestly. It's referred to as like the Amazon of the NFT space, because like you can find anything and everything there. But it's really great. People do editions there, so you can like put out like a 1 of 100 or things like that. You can put out 1 of 1s. Like it's pretty customizable. And you can also put out a collection, and that's something that's like been like brewing in the NFT space recently. There's been like a boom of photographers, which is, very lucky that we're having this conversation now, because it started, I want to say like 1 or 2 weeks ago. It was definitely following Justin Aversano, who was like probably the biggest NFT photographer.
What's his name? What's the name?
Justin Aversano.
Okay, gotta make a note.
Yeah, he's very big, and he's aligned himself very well in the community. I think that he definitely like knows what projects are doing the best, and he makes sure to like align his projects with those and like get those, like he's a smart businessman as well. So he's done a lot to grow his collection, which got very big, the Twin Flames collection, which I think showed at both the Christie's. He had a Christie's auction with it and a Sotheby's auction, which is very cool. And he's also has a nonprofit as well that the crypto space taps into to do things with. So he definitely opened this door for photographers, and he's definitely opened the door for me as well in some spaces. And I think like even if you don't necessarily know him right now, you're definitely like following the footsteps of the project that he launched, because it was the biggest. I think that like the floor is like 40 to 100 ETH. I don't know. It's high. Yeah, it's very high.
Well, put that into numbers terms for us, for people who don't know what the conversion rate for an ETH to a dollar is.
Let me do that one real quick. If it's 40 ETH, that is like $128,000.
Wow.
Like that would be the lowest you could get one.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's probably higher than that if I'm being fully honest. But like he's a connector in the community. Like if you talk to Justin, and then Justin has somebody that he knows is perfect for you. He's like a matchmaker. But he's very cool. And the whole point of that is just to say that a lot of photographers recently have been releasing series and collections. That's not something that I've done yet, because I feel a little skeptical of it. And I think that that's something that one of the best pieces of advice that I've been able to take recently from the director of, Superchief Gallery, which is just having healthy skepticism. you
Yeah.
know, because there's a lot of money moving through this community, and that is great, and that's true. Like, it's not fake money, it's not money laundering, but at the same time, like, you should be cautious of um, the deals you make and where you're moving and like what projects you put out. So right now with the collections, I'm still wondering, like, is it the sort of thing where if you drop a collection, will you get trapped in dropping a collection? Because people also like you to upkeep your projects. So it's not the sort of thing where it'd be like one and done, I drop it and leave. Like, they want you to make sure that you're still like pushing forward and, you know, raising the value of that collection.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I still have to figure it out. I also have like been moving more into video recently than like making, like I said, a body of work to put out as a collection. But I think that's very interesting for photographers to definitely look at and reference all these different photographers dropping collections, and they're doing extremely well. I will say that, like, the money that they're making from these collections, like selling them like low and releasing a whole lot, so it'd maybe be like one of 200 or something that they'll sell for like maybe like $100. I mean, you can do the math on that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, wow. You know, it's definitely a lot, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. I know it's a lot of information.
No, it's a lot. It's a lot, but you know, that's the whole intent of this quick chat, was to kind of, you know, shine a different light from a different perspective on this space, you know, and get an idea of where things are going. If people want to learn more about this stuff and they're like, okay, I want to dive in, Diana's got me all excited about this stuff, and I want to learn more. Where, you know, first thing, where's a good place for them to start getting educated about NFTs before they dive in? And then B, where can they go check out your NFTs and maybe buy one or two of those?
You know, I think that there's actually a lot that needs to be done for education in this community, but I think that a good thing to start is actually to follow marketplaces, because from there you can kind of like branch out. So if you can, you know, look at like the top marketplaces right now, like Nifty Gateway, Foundation, Super Rare, OpenSea. Showtime isn't a marketplace, more as like a platform to, like, it's almost like an Instagram where you can scroll through and you can see all of the NFTs that somebody has created, like, across all of their platforms. So if I put something up on Foundation and up on Super Rare, it's all on the same blockchain, but it's just like you're going to see them on different platforms. But on Showtime, you can see them all together, which is pretty cool.
Got it.
Rareable is another one that's like more collectibles, and Ephemera is a photography platform. So if you follow those places, then those like on Twitter or found on Instagram, then from there you're definitely able to like see the artists that they're featuring or they're interviewing, and kind of like branch out to see like what's going on overall. So that'd be a great place to tap in, but also like One-Off is a great, has resources for both collectors and artists to get into it.
You know,
they have an Instagram.
I wonder, before you share where yours are, like future facing, do you think there's a world in the future where we're going to see big guys like Facebook/Instagram or, you know, big entities like that? Because I could see a world where you're scrolling through your Instagram feed or TikTok or whatever, and there's an NFT in there with a buy now button, and you just click it because you've already authenticated to your wallet, and now it's mainstream at that point. Is that coming? Do you
There's
think?
so much I want to say.
Say it.
There's so much that I want to say that I can't say. The one that I can say, because that had nothing to do with me. Instagram released or was like working on an NFT thing. Like I think that they were trying to like figure out if they can make a platform. I'm not exactly sure, but it kind of blew up in their faces a little bit. Which, I mean, Instagram is owned by Facebook. So that was pretty interesting. They had something recently, and I don't really know exactly the full story of that, so I won't go into it, but there was like some Twitter threads that came out from like artists that were involved with it that weren't necessarily happy. And again, like, I also heard about it like from the Instagram side, and like it's hard to really gauge exactly what went on there.
Right.
I'm not sure if they're working on it anymore. But that was, obviously they're definitely king, and other places that I definitely can't speak about are definitely
Yeah, I know. I
tapping
totally
in and looking.
totally respect that. Don't want to get you in
They're
trouble.
looking, they're developing their projects that will come out very soon, I'm sure, and then everybody will be like, obviously, I mean, it's just like, again, like when you think about it, it's just like money's flowing through this, and where do people look?
Yeah,
They want
yeah,
to see where the money's coming from, and whether it's a long term or short term, I'm not exactly sure, but these places are definitely trying to make sure that they, capitalize off of what's going on, which
yeah,
is like,
yeah.
I
And
don't
that's
know
the
if I would
thing.
say it's good or bad, but it's happening.
It's business, right? There's money, there's blood in the water. The sharks are going to come, right? So, the I think the one of the scary things might be when big banks start getting into it, like Chase, when I can go to an ATM machine and interact with my wallet through an ATM at Chase or Wells Fargo or something like that. And now the whole idea of
uh,
decentralization is now centralized again somehow. And
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that would be, again, like when you say this, like, damn, it sounds convenient, but then at the same time, like with the way that, it's just like, it is frustrating because, like, like I said, there are upsides and bad, like downsides to everything. I think that crypto can, like, as in, like, the technology can um, be a source or be a resource to help combat things like wealth inequity, generational wealth, like disparities, how people navigate the systems that have been put in place, especially in America, to help to oppress like Black people, like things like that have occurred, like redlining or credit cards or credit scores,
Hmm.
loans, bank loans that have been like predatory, right? Like those things in this world, hopefully, like wouldn't exist. But at the same time, there are obviously fears that I have, like if Black people, or especially like younger Black people, don't have access to the resources to know about this thing, then it's going to hit our communities over the head too late.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's just gonna like be a day where we all wake up and everybody's using crypto, and Black people are like, wait, what? And it's just like sucks because it's like if we're not already having access to computers or internet or just traditional like finance education, this whole world is not going to be accessible to us. Like, the
Yeah, it's
the
another
the, the
dimension.
people who
Yeah.
have the time to learn about it are the people who aren't having to work late at jobs to like make ends meet or things like that. And often we are the families who have to do that because of the disadvantage that we're already put at. So I'm definitely afraid in those different aspects, but that's like why I try to do what I can education wise. Um, but I think that's definitely something that we should get keyed into overall. Like even if you don't join, and like I said, the barrier to entry often is like very high, unfortunately, because again, we're not going to have the disposable income to throw 2,000 into ETH and hopefully see it grow. Um, I say we as in like us overall, like the general, but
Hmm.
obviously there are hopefully steps that you know um, Black people can take to just get educated, because I think this is definitely where we're going overall,
Yeah.
as much
No.
as the government tries to stop it.
Yeah.
Which is making me
Yeah.
sound very culty, but
No,
as
no.
much
I
as the
mean,
government.
it's you're being prophetic, right? I mean, it's like if I had known about if you had a time machine and you knew Apple was going to do what Apple did like 50 years ago, or not 50 years, but like 20 years ago, then you would have invested in Apple 20 years ago, or
Hmm.
Google, or Tesla, or on and on.
Or
This is
Bitcoin.
or Bitcoin, right? Yeah, and this is one of those things where now people are telling there's a slow burn, but it's moving in a specific trajectory. So at the very
Yeah,
least, take the initiative to learn. If you can't afford to dive into it yet, you can educate yourself on what's going
exactly.
on. Yeah. So where
Yeah,
if
and
people oh, go ahead, finish your thought.
no, I was just saying like I lost that thought, but I was thinking about how I saw this thing and I don't know if it was true, but it's funny. Um, is this a meme? I guess of like a screenshot of this of this investor. He's a Black man, who had like made a YouTube video like, if you just buy, and it was several years ago. It was like maybe like 2014 or something. He's like, just buy $5 of Bitcoin if you can. Just buy it. And it was like, we should have listened to him.
Yeah. And that's the problem. You never know when that guy is a lunatic or if he's a prophet. So
Yeah, and then like his most recent video in the meme that I saw was like him in a Lamborghini.
yeah.
You're like, we should have listened.
You should have listened. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's so many horror stories like with like Bitcoin. Not to go off the rails too much. I read this story. I don't know how true. Maybe you know if this is true or not. There was a story about this person that had like $1 million or something locked up in ETH somewhere and somehow lost access to it or the password to the account or something.
Listen,
and then it's gone.
I have a friend who has like, oh, his story is crazy. He got into Bitcoin early. I don't remember how much he has, like whether he has like one Bitcoin or several or what was going on necessarily there. But he has a wallet with Bitcoin and he forgot 2 words to the password. So the password is like 24 words long. And he knows all of it except for 2 words. Oh. And he's on his last try. And if he tries it again and he doesn't get those 2 words correctly, then it'll wipe the whole thing. Oh. And the Bitcoin will burn and it'll be gone. And so he says that he's just not touching it and he's waiting for quantum computing so that he can like hack into it or something.
He's gonna be like 70 years old trying to get into his account.
I know. I was just like, wow, only 2 words? Like that sucks. Like that's awful. Like you could have and that's like could be life changing for him. But he's great. He's also an investor and an artist and he's been cool. But Amir. But yeah, I just he tells that story sometimes. You would think that he would tell it more. Yeah, I know. Like you have to wipe away the tears, the tears of this fallen soldier.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what I'd do, and that's why I'm like so anal about that stuff because it's like if I, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
and
like
there are a lot of hacks too.
Oh, yeah, see, that's a whole nother. That's a whole nother conversation.
Other thing. Wallet security. If you look into crypto and if you purchase it, then make sure that you look into wallet security. Yeah, that's a big one.
And remember
it's like there's a whole lot that goes into it. Remember your password, and make sure that you don't log into weird Wi-Fi's or stuff like that. Like when your money lives on your computer, then your computer's like your bank. You don't want to. It's weird.
It's and weird. that like you said, it goes back to that whole thing of just understanding how it all works. Right. So you don't want to go into anything like a neighborhood or whatever, not understanding what the rules of the road are in that particular area, because bad things can happen. So if people want to connect to you, Diana, people want to see the stuff that you have going on, your work, and look at you said you are on Foundation, right? So how do they go there?
Right now.
How do they get to it?
You could do foundation.app/@Diana Sinclair. That's how you could get on there. My site is also just dianasinclair.com. And I have a link there to NFTs, which just takes to my profile. Okay. My Twitter, I tweet around. Like I said, the landscape is constantly changing. That it's in a week I could be like, I don't know, I've moved everything over to this platform, which I don't think necessarily would happen, but it's just things are wild.
Wait a minute. Wait, you're on Twitter? Wait, because I heard it was illegal for people in your age range to be on Twitter. I thought you were supposed to be on either Instagram or TikTok.
Nah. Listen,
Twitter's still alive for you?
I have a whole list of 15-year-olds. No, I mean, first of all, listen, hopefully nobody from Twitter, my birthday's coming up, so don't ban me. No, it's legal. I think it's 13 and up on the App Store, 14 and up. But I don't mean.
I mean legal, tongue-in-cheek legal. I thought the party had moved away from Twitter and over to Instagram and TikTok, and Twitter was for old people and politicians now.
Oh no, that's for the crypto people. Are you kidding me? No, okay. Everybody if you want to get. That's what I keep telling people. Whenever I was at a party recently, and they're like, "Oh no, how do I find you?" And they're like, what's your Instagram? I'm like, no, I'm on Twitter. I have an Instagram and I use it, and that's where I need to post more on it. But that is not the place to really connect and get to know this community. And like I said, everybody will help you out. If you reach out to somebody, DM somebody, what's going on? Help me. More, I would say 9 times out of 10 they'll help you, unless they're one of the really, really big people who just have no time. Yeah. But it's really I did that with a lot of people. Can you just helped me a little bit, you know, to understand. And I did that a lot in Clubhouse, but that's kind of like dying out a little bit more now. But also Black NFT art, they do intro to NFTs on Clubhouse a lot. I think maybe once or twice a week, which is cool. They bring on artists and everybody speaks, and they do like Q&As.
I love it. I love it. You have so much information in there.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I know. We're going to be, like I said, we're going to be meeting every week, and we're going to have like, I don't know, Diana, update on Diana half an hour on the show.
NFT girl corner right there.
Oh, no.
Typecast. Cool.
Great.
Diana Sinclair,
it
is an absolute pleasure chatting with you. This is our second conversation. I feel like we could chat for hours about this stuff.
I know.
It's fantastic. Well, thank you. So dianasinclair.com is the URL where people can go to, and you're linked to your foundation and all that stuff is there. So they can find your Twitter, all that stuff, all at dianasinclair.com, right?
Yeah, you could go there. It has my like portfolio, my about me, and like the press that I've done. Just like, I don't know, I've got to get better about updating it. Hopefully I'll get a custom website soon, but right now I'm just using format.
Hey, whatever works. As long as
whatever works.
Yeah, whatever works. Yep, minimum viable product. Just get it out there and iterate, right? So cool. All right, we'll leave it right there. Thanks a lot. And thanks for doing this on a Monday. We were recording this on August 16th. And, Mondays are rough. So thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
It is. I'm tired. I got to get my energy up. That was actually one of the very good, I'll say this one very quickly. Yeah. Great pieces of advice that I got, that it's like, when you're in the center of this, like you got to make sure that you take care of your own energy, and that I'm trying to take that into account. Like, okay, I'm going to take like an hour for me to get my energy up so I can like take care of like the rest of the stuff I need to do. 'Cause like people will feed off of me,
Yep.
So
yeah, that's exactly right.
Trying.
Exactly right. Here's my secret right here. Coffee.
Yeah, that's what I need to do. I'm going to get off. I'm going to go get a cup of coffee before the next meeting that I have. There you go. See, but you're revived from this conversation, so you're good. Yeah, no, it was great. It's great to talk about this stuff. Yeah, there's a lot going on. It is. All right, we'll leave right there. Diana, thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you. This is TWIP. This episode was sponsored by MPB, the world's largest online platform for used photo and video kit. Visit mpb.com.